Remember when this well-known comedian was robbed of $12 million? Now, Dane is the one who initiates the entire tale. At this time, Dane, who is about 16 years old, lives in Boston with a troubled family. They are getting by on food stamps and welfare. However, he makes the decision one day to remove himself and his family from the conflict, and he will achieve this by becoming well known in the comedy industry. He so devotes all of his time to attempting to become a comic during the ensuing years. For example, he works on his material in local comedy clubs every night. By the time he reaches his 20s, Dane is working the scene every night in an attempt to make this happen. He has been doing this for years. However, he eventually receives a little respite in 1998. Comedy Central features a stand-up routine featuring him. He then receives his own half-hour special in 2000. He's now earning a little money since, of course, being on TV helps market his live performances. He also wants to use some of this money to provide for his family. Thus, he purchases a lovely home for his mother. However, he also wants to assist Daryl. Dane's close buddy and half-brother is Daryl. In fact, they were raised together. Dane then approaches Daryl, who asks, "Hey, do you want a job? I could hire you to run my company or anything." Dane is eager to assist Daryl despite the fact that he lacks a great deal of expertise with this. When Daryl hears this offer, he says, okay. He also joins the team as the manager of the firm. Additionally, Daryl manages a large portion of Dane's affairs, including making sure his taxes are paid on time and other things. And Dane gives him a salary. Thus, both of them benefit greatly from this deal. Then, in 2002, Dane does a truly unprecedented action. He begins using the internet to his advantage. This is the standard now, but in 2002, stand-up comedians weren't doing this. Dane, however, is intelligent. He creates a website where he posts videos of his stand-up performances. And as a result of this, his fan base continues to grow. He then creates a MySpace page in 2004. Do you recall MySpace? Among the earliest major social media sites? Once more, at the time, stand-up comedians weren't doing this. Dane, however, does it. Additionally, this greatly increases his visibility. Then all of a sudden, bam, his career is exploding, and he's all over now. Millions of people follow him. Platinum is being earned by his comedic albums. Madison Square Garden is the venue for his performance, occasionally, twice in a single night. And all of a sudden, Dane is not the welfare kid he was at first. He is currently among the world's most well-known comedians, and everyone in his immediate vicinity is ecstatic for him and really helpful. Up until, not everyone is extremely helpful, though. His business manager, Daryl, his half-brother, his dear friend of many years. Daryl observes his younger brother enjoying all of this prosperity, as well as earning millions of dollars. He eventually begins to believe that he could be entitled to a portion of it. Additionally, Dane already gives him a salary of $150,000 annually. However, it seems that Daryl is not satisfied with it. He desires more, and he makes the decision to steal it rather than politely asking his brother for a raise. He then starts working. Additionally, he begins transferring funds directly into his personal account from Dane's corporate accounts. Additionally, he forges checks made out to himself from Dane. Daryl is also skilled at hiding his identity to give Dane the impression that everything is in order and that the funds are sound. He sends him false bank statements that he also embezzles millions from Dane throughout the years. And like this turd, Erica, his wife, is assisting him in doing it. Additionally, Daryl and Erica are using the money that was taken. They purchase jewels. They purchase a condo in Maine for $800,000. They make investments in a number of companies, including a hotel complex and a few eateries. Daryl even accrues more than $1 million in credit card debt for the sole purpose of purchasing things for himself. Then he uses Dane's money to pay off that credit card. He also begins concealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in the walls of the several houses he now owns, just in case things go wrong. It is estimated that he stole at least $12 million from his own brother in total. Dane is working so hard, poor guy, because he believes these bank statements. He is unaware that any of this money is gone. Naturally, he also has faith in his brother. They grew up together, as it were. However, as Dane gains more and more notoriety, he begins to land a lot more movie agreements and other things. such as a film with Kate Hudson, one with Jessica Simpson, and another with Jessica Alba. This causes Daryl's plot to unravel. As a result, Dane formally moves to California in 2008. Additionally, he begins filing his taxes there. As a result, he has to locate a new manager for his company in Los Angeles who has a little more experience. With that aspect of things, Dane must go and inform his brother that he is changing managers, even if it is a terrible thing to do. However, he claims that he will find him a new job, keep him in the family business, and assist him. Giving the books to someone else is definitely terrible news for Daryl. Even if I think he appears cool about it. What would happen if the new manager discovered that he had been embezzling all of this money? Eventually, Dane's new manager fulfills his duties and contacts Daryl to turn over all of Dane's financial documents. Daryl then begins to act very suspicious and makes up all sorts of excuses for why he is unable to complete the task, and this causes a temporary halt. Daryl understands, nevertheless, that he cannot continue this for very long. He urgently needs a new strategy. He then begins searching for information on Google in a hurry, including ways to conceal money and white-collar lawyers, and when it doesn't work, he finally understands that running away is his only choice. As a result, he and his spouse begin planning their departure and global tour. He then prepares a final check for $3 million to himself and transfers it into his own account. After forging Dane's signature, Dane's new manager, in the meantime, confronts him and says, "Your brother is ignoring me." Dane then sternly tells Daryl, "Bro, you have to FedEx those documents immediately." Daryl responds, "I'm working on it." He isn't working on it though, because 2 days later, Daryl and Erica board a train that leaves the state at 4 a.m. After that, they drive somewhere after renting a car. I'm not sure. They vanish entirely off the map. Dane becomes quite suspicious after this disappearance, since he is finally beginning to suspect that his brother is a bad person. He then visits Bank of America directly in an attempt to access his accounts. He doesn't even have access to his own bank accounts, though as it turns out, he discovers that there are actually zero money waiting for him when the bank management eventually provide him access to his accounts, which should have millions of dollars. Daryl apparently deleted all of these accounts. Naturally, Dane is devastated by this. For example, how could someone who was so close to him betray him in this manner? I mean, this is definitely some of the most excruciating pain he has ever experienced. He is therefore forced to approach the police at last. Police then locate Daryl in Massachusetts a few weeks later, and then they take him into custody. He's in handcuffs in court, but I don't have a mugshot of him. And suddenly, Erica is arrested. This is a mugshot of her, and after entering a guilty plea, Erica receives a sentence of 3 years in prison, while Daryl receives a sentence of 6 years. Additionally, they must reimburse Dane for all of the money they took. Well done.